Welcome everybody to our lockdown talk in conversation with Marta today. So
Hi.
this is our 17th edition of the lockdown talk that we're having, uh, and today we have a very good friend of ours and an awesome musician and who has very deep connections with Nepal. Yeah. So a lot of people who know her from So Far Sounds Kathmandu and from KJC uh, and everything. So would you like to introduce yourself to begin with?
Hi, Ravik. Thanks for the nice introduction. It's great to be here and having the chance to have a chat with you all, even though I've been far away for a while and I don't know when I'll be back. So I'm Marta, and like you said, I run the Kathmandu chapter of So Far Sounds for a couple of years, like ever since it was started. And yeah, I've been living in Kathmandu since 2017, September.
Mhm.
Even though I've been like going in and out because of my work, which is being a musician. I'm a singer and songwriter, and I have a couple of art projects ongoing with artists from either my hometown or the place where I lived for 5 years, that is Belgium. So I'm Italian, I'm from Milan, Italy, and I am in Milan, Italy right now because I was here when the lockdown started, and as you, I'm sure, might have heard, Milan was the first city to be reportedly hit by COVID in a great amount of cases, and Italy was the first country to actually lock down fully and very strictly on March 9th. But we started to have restrictions, like travel restrictions, from like February 24th. So I was here and I stayed here. So I've been here, a guest of my family, for a long time, and my husband, who's following us now, is in Kathmandu in Lalitpur with our dog. And yeah, I've been here and I've been like quite active from my work corner. Maybe some of you have already seen this bookshelf coming by in my live streaming concerts and talks. Yeah, thanks a lot for calling me up for this. It's great to see so many friends connecting.
I think, yeah. So since you said you are right now in Milan, Italy, and we also had talk earlier about how the situation there. But for the audiences right now, I think they're like they will be concerned about how are things unfolding there, what is the situation with COVID-19
Sure.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so things are getting a lot better. We locked down on March 9th, like I said, and for like 2 months straight, we had the strictest version of a lockdown, the strictest possible version. So we basically didn't leave the house at all. Like most people tried to get home delivery for groceries, especially like older people, like my parents would not fancy going to the supermarket, even though, yeah, that was one of the exceptions. Like you could leave the house for going to the grocery store or going to the pharmacy or in need of healthcare, going to the hospital, but we couldn't like visit family, we couldn't go for a walk, we couldn't go for a run. So also for like sport activities, there was like a full total restriction, which led people to do loads of home workout. And that was like a real thing, like a real scene back then. So after these 2 months, around the beginning of May, we opened up a little. That means the government published a new regulation that said we could go out to visit close relatives, and that we could do outdoors sport activities. And some shops reopened, like some smaller shops, and but had like a limited possibility of activities. Like for instance, cafes could do like takeaway coffee, but you could not like have the coffee inside. And then from tomorrow, we're gonna have a bigger opening. Like it's almost like we say we open everything, which is not really true, but like opening all the shops. Also restaurants and bars can open, but they have a limited possibility of business. Like, you know, for instance, they need to keep like the distances between tables, especially indoors. Restaurants will have a very hard time, and for most of them, like especially smaller places, is probably not even convenient, you know, to run the business, because they won't be able to have enough revenues to make it run, you know. So this is a quite hot topic at the moment, because of course reopening, like European countries are reopening right now, and it's obviously because otherwise the economy would collapse. But this doesn't mean that the virus is won, you know, like defeated. But it's definitely much weaker, and like most of our emergency rooms, like the COVID departments, some of them have closed because there's not like the emergency that there used to be, and some of them are still open and ready to run in case the number of cases will increase again. We had a slightly increase since like the, you know, the curve went down, and that's when we started to reopen. And then we had like a slightly increase of cases this week, but it's still nothing significant for which the government would make a step back. But like we're moving forward, and after tomorrow we'll be able to just visit friends as well, and like hang out with friends, especially outdoors. You can't have like parties at home or parties in clubs. Of course, clubs and the entertainment industry is not mentioned in this new regulation yet. From June the 3rd, we will be able to move across regions.
Mm-hmm.
So Italy is a country of 20 regions, and my region was the most hit, but it's also the most populated and highly densely populated. So it's a region of 11 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And for now, we can't go to other regions, but in a couple of weeks, then if everything goes well, we'll be able to move across regions. And it seems like from June 3rd, also the borders will be open. So with our neighbor countries, we'll be able to cross the borders. I'm not sure how the quarantine will work. Like, you know, the need for quarantine would probably stay. Like if somebody comes in, has to quarantine for 14 days. Not sure. But things are going much better.
Yeah. So yeah, just to mention that if you have any questions to Marta, okay, I think you're frozen. How it works again,
You can hear me?
or is it the connection? Anyways, if any of the participants have questions, you can drop in the questions in the chat window here, or even for our audiences in Facebook live stream. If you have any questions, mention it in the comments. We'll try to take in the questions. So yeah, we already have one question, so which is more which is related to what you were saying earlier. Devanshi Asher asks, what do you think the situation in the music scene going to be like in this COVID time with the social distancing and all?
Yeah, good question. Very good question. This is the question that has been tormenting all of us in the industry. And it's been like a hot topic that we've been debating. And I have many friends that work in this field here, all around in Europe, but especially US. These friends, like my friends in the US, especially the friends that live in New York City, are those that have been a little bit more aware and concerned, because what I'm hearing from them is that probably like a city like New York, that is the center of arts and performing arts, is probably going to be on lockdown for over a year, because it's just, yeah, it's just out of, you know, way bigger impact of COVID than anywhere else. And Yeah, and the question was especially about Nepali indie musicians. Okay, but I'm gonna get there. Anyways, what I'm hearing, especially from musicians that are older than me and have been in the scene for a long time, is that what we know as performing arts scene and music scene and musicians profession will probably never be the same again, which makes me think we were actually lucky to experience this moment in human history at all, because if you think about it, it's like it's been like barely 70 years, because it's since after the end of the Second World War and a revolution of costumes and of the economy, that the art industry could actually be something that people could enjoy, like not only a prince or a duke, but only, you know, also just like normal people could like go to concerts, go to the theater. And it's gonna be different. It's gonna be different, especially because our way of perceiving being with people, you know, our way of like feeling like being with people, like with a lot of people in a crowded place indoors, it's probably gonna be changed forever. And I noticed this, like for instance, if I watch a movie and there is like a scene in which people are in a club and they're all sweaty one against the other, my instinct is like, oh my god, you know, like, oh no, I don't want to be there. So I don't know, I feel like definitely something is gonna change in this sense, like from the fact that people won't feel like being in this situation anymore, and also from the fact that of course regulation are gonna keep these restrictions for a while, and also because I'm sure you've heard experts are talking about the second wave of COVID contagion in the fall. Assuming COVID is something that spreads like a cold, so it happens when it's cold, which we are not able to prove, as far as I know. Like I've listened to so many podcasts, so many talks, and it seems like we're not able to state that. But it seems like it's more likely to spread when it's cold, just like a normal cold. So the fall is when the cold usually spreads again. And knowing that this could be like, this is a possibility, then, you know, obviously we can't make a long-term plan that goes to the fall. Like if you think of music festivals, so in Europe, almost all music festivals for the summer have been canceled, or like they say postponed, but postponed to next year, so canceled. And then in September there are some festivals that are confirmed. I'm here waiting to see what happens then, because it's hard to think that September is different than August, right? So let's see. And October, November, yeah, that could be a good time if the second wave is not a thing. But if the second wave is a thing, let's see what the organizer will feel like doing, because it's a huge risk, especially if you're working with, you know, imagine Coachella. Okay, I'm just talking crazy, but like Coachella signs contracts with the artists, for which I'm pretty sure the artists got paid at least 50% of their fee, even though Coachella was canceled. So it's a huge loss in the industry for the the, the festival side, and of course for us musicians is a huge loss too. I'm just trying to understand each parts, you know, because like at first I was like, oh, we musicians are the victims, and then I'm like, okay, wait a minute, think of how much money that festival lost and these people lost. So of course they have to cancel the edition because they can't financially. And also public funds, like in Italy for instance, there are now funds for for companies to try and make the business run again, restart slowly. So there are like quite significant funds that have been placed in the industry sector and the third sector. But what about the cultural sector? It's always like this gray zone where no one wants to say anything because it's not essential. But is it not essential? I don't know. It's up for debate, like in my opinion, and for not only in mine, it is just as essential
Yeah.
as many other sectors, even more essential than many other sectors. It's, it will take like a good understanding, and a good dialogue with the institutions to be able to restore a situation similar to what we used to know. But at the same time, I feel like it was a good time for us artists, especially for me. I mean, I'm talking for myself, of course, like everyone had his own experience, her own experience, but I
Mm.
feel like it was a good time to just slow down and be like focused on what I'm making, like just as a writer, as a maker, and be able to work like probably I should work most of the time, so without being like on a constant fight to keep my energy for writing, but also being very social and also being like always in the network and doing things, being out, running around. And I think it also brought some very good conversations among us, that if we are, it's a challenge, but if we're able to keep these good conversations, to make treasure of what we've talked about and what we've, like, yeah, what we've learned, the new achievements we got, if we can make treasure of it, then it's probably going to be a better scene after this.
I
Yeah.
think you put it very nicely, like, and ended in a very positive note about it.
Yeah, I mean, it goes in waves. I also, that's another thing that I realized during lockdown, is that it goes in waves, and usually my mood and my state of mind is very similar to that of most people of my community. I don't know how you felt, but I felt like, okay, at the beginning of lockdown, it was like feeling really weird and not knowing what to do and be like, what? And also a little bit of excitement, like this is something that never happened before. So like, oh my God, like, we're living the apocalypse. And I'm one of those people that gets like a bit thrilled, which is a bit perverted maybe. I don't know. But after that, there was like a good wave, a good wave of like, okay, what can we do? We should develop digital content. And, I made, for instance, with Fossick Project, the Stay Home with Pangolin, with Long Tongue Pangolin series. That happened in kind of the first month of lockdown, because we were like, okay, we got to do something. We don't have shows anymore. What do we do? How do we talk to the people that follow us and like the whole world? So like, okay, let's make a mini video series with our character, which is a pangolin, because we work on endangered species, and the pangolin was the animal that was first accused of having transmitted the coronavirus from the animal world to the human world. So it was like, wow, we have so much material to work on. So okay, this was the first wave. And then there was like a moment of like, like, life sucks, we're never gonna get out of here, nobody cares for musicians, nobody cares for artists, we're just gonna be so poor and broke, and we're never going to be in a music venue anymore in our life. And now I feel like we're kind of settling on a plateau. So it's like, okay, we're almost out of here. I'm talking for Europe. I know that that's not the case in Nepal, so I don't want to make a general statement that doesn't apply to Nepal. But I feel like Nepal is doing good with this lockdown that started very soon. That's the only way to go. I'm just like really hoping that things won't degenerate in the next weeks. But
Mm.
that overall, I feel like probably as this trend is the same almost everywhere, sooner or later, it's probably gonna be possible to apply, yeah, this to Nepal as well.
I think like Devanshi ji also agrees. He says, "Yes, I felt the same way, but you put it really well, and I agree to you too. Like, I didn't think of it before in terms of that wave, the analogy that you created, but yeah, it's also the same to us. Like sometimes you feel like, okay, like this too shall pass, and like everything is gonna be fine and better, and sometimes
Yeah.
it will be gloomy and like, oh my God." like everything is going to hell or something like that.
Yeah. I feel like being connected is a very important approach. Like when the lockdown started, and I was at my parents' place, and I haven't lived with my parents in 8 years, and I'm very fine not living with them. Like it's really fine. So now that I'm back living with them, it was kind of challenging at first, and still is, but especially at first. So I use the social media as a way to be connected to the world, like I used to in real life. And I don't know if you guys, maybe some of you saw that I started to make videos of myself playing covers with a motivational line that could apply to the lockdown situation. And that was really nice because many friends picked it up and shared it on their page. So other people that I didn't know picked it up and sent me the covers. So that was feel like a community, and we are all in the same boat. And that's, after all, even like the normal world as we knew it before, it's it's just in our mind. It's normal if it's in our mind, but what if this is normal? We could put it in our mind, and it's all up to us and what we do with it. So
Yeah, we all have so many questions, unanswered ones. uh, so yeah,
yeah, Fat Cowley, we can be friends. Yeah,
so yeah,
you can poke me on Facebook.
yeah, we had a talk with Pat Cowley a few last week.
I know, I could not follow, because also you told me it would be in Nepali, so I'm not this smart girl and not talented for languages, so I didn't learn Nepali, but I can say Mero kukur Mowgli ho. My dog is Mowgli. Yay!
Yeah, so coming back to like music and everything, uh most of us know you like from So Far Sounds Kathmandu. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like, and I think people in Facebook and like Zoom agree to that too, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, so if people out here haven't heard of So Far Sounds Kathmandu and they've been living under a rock for the past few years, would you like to tell them what it is about? What So Far?
So, rock people. So Far Sounds is a global startup that started their operation 11 years ago in London, and they started to organize concerts in homes, in living rooms. So it started very spontaneously, just invite your friends to watch a gig in your living room, and then it expanded, became a company, and expanded to practically all over the world. So there are over 400 cities in the world now. Kathmandu is one of them. We started the team, we were just a group of friends that's decided to do the first gig in December 2017
Mhm.
at my garden. And from that moment on, we have been doing almost a gig a month, sometimes more, sometimes we would miss a month. But overall, I think that we organized like some kind of almost like 30 shows in a couple of years. And every show features 3 acts that play a set of like 20 to 30 minutes. The audience is invited through subscription, like online subscription, and then, believe it or not, randomly we select the guests. Believe it or not, because we've been blamed of being like inviting our friends, which sometimes we all have the chance to invite a friend, but all the rest happens randomly online. And we gather at kind of unusual places for shows, sometimes homes, sometimes gardens, sometimes offices, sometimes public spaces. We did like this big show with Photo Kathmandu in 2018
Mhm.
in Patan, in a
Kapila.
courtyard, in a beautiful courtyard in Old Patan. And maybe most people found out about SoFar because of that gig, because it was a huge gig.
Mhm.
I don't even want to know how many people were there because it was scary. But yeah,
It was in
uh,
Copyla. I forgot. Yeah,
it was in Kapinsen.
Copy chair or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were like the entire courtyard was full of people.
it was scary. Yeah,
It was-
I'm
Yeah,
scared. Still thinking.
there is a question, and I think that was what I was about to ask you as well. What got you interested in bringing our sounds to Kathmandu?
So I found out about SoFar in 2016 when my first album came out, and my album is called Invertebrates, and I used to play Marta Rosa, and it's an album I recorded with my band in Belgium. I was based in Belgium, and it was my debut, so I was learning everything from scratch about the music industry. And I was doing my bookings by myself, I was doing my management by myself, and I started to search for gigs. And through friends mostly, like, asking my friends, I want to come to your city, but I don't know any venue. Can you tell me like who to contact? And some friends told me about So Far Sounds. So I made some research. I found out I knew someone who was leading a chapter in my town, Ghent in Belgium at the time. So I contacted him and he helped me to contact other city leaders. So I got to play a couple of So Far shows, one in the Netherlands and one in the north of Italy. And I got like such a beautiful experience out of it. So it connected with people that became friends. Actually, from both shows, I still have like some good friends that I met there. And when I moved to Nepal, I moved because I wanted to be with Rishi, who's now my husband, but he's not here anymore. He left, he takes me for granted at this point. But so, or maybe he's here and I'm just bitching about him. No, it's not here. But yeah, so I was moving for him, and I was bringing like all my music with me, of course. And, I'm a freelance musician. So I would have work, but I also wanted to build a group of people that I work with, in music, and find a way to get more connected to the scene. So I talked to my friends at So Far Sounds that I met at my shows, and they helped me to get in touch with the coordinator. Yeah, I live by the church, so if you hear some music, it's the bells, the church bells.
I'm just checking if has been unmuted and like that the sound is coming from someone else.
It's the soundtrack of my life, like, yeah. And yeah, so that way I got in touch with the coordinator, and I set up together with some friends the SoFarSoundsKathmandu team. And yeah, that was the aim. The aim for myself was to get more involved in what happens locally in Kathmandu, because I was new. I was not super new because I had already done 4 months internship at Kathmandu Jazz Conservatory years before, in 2014. But it was the first time I lived in Kathmandu again after, yeah, you do the math, 3 years. And yeah, so I was like, wow, so many things changed. And also I had never been in Nepal to live after the earthquake. I didn't know what changed, what stayed the same. The city had become more expensive, more crowded, more trafficked. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I feel like in 2014 it was like a dream comparing to now. It was like so much more chill and like human pace, and now it's just like, wow, every month is a bit more. So yeah, it was about like coping with being new in a place that was a bit new to me. And then it turned into being a very good community experiment, like, from like that group of 4 friends that initially started the team, we became a group of 12 people just right away after the first show. We were like from 4 to 12, and the press, but not only, like, yeah, the press, whatever, but also people like you guys, people that work in, like, a similar industry. Maybe you don't work in music, but you work in media, so it's very much connected to what we do. Like, we created some links quite immediately, there was a link created immediately. We do So Far Sounds, and people from Sattya would come, or people from Karkhana would come, people from jazz production would come, Fast Factory production, in all the bands, Paolo Battimoni, and I said Paolo Battimoni because I just saw that their pictures while I was selecting the pictures that maybe were interesting, just to mention one band, but so many other bands. Phosphins played the first So Far Sounds. Their video from So Far Sounds became like really big on the So Far Sounds channel. Some very nice things happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fat Cow Lee has something to say. So he is asking the question, how to cope with this physical distance, especially between lovers, partners, etc. I miss you all, and I'm gonna
Make some tea for my
for my mom.
mom. Yes, I don't know, Rajan.
I think
The answer is I don't know. I think that after all this time, it's strange. I got used to this new normal, and it's kind of like I'm on hold. I put it on hold, and I don't know when I'll be able to see Rishi. By the way, my husband now it's logged in with 2 people. No, I don't know. It's just me seeing this.
Rajan. The
Yeah,
answer, I don't know.
I think that is that. Okay, sorry. I don't want to confuse people by saying things going on in my head, but I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. I really hope that I'll be able to see my husband in a month or something. But because the airport in Kathmandu is closed and we don't know when it's going to reopen, it's very hard to make plans. Do you guys know anything about that?
no, I'm sure it's not opening anytime soon, because
Yeah.
we're still not yet having we are still onto the first wave of this infections, and like, it's rising. So
What about India? Are there flights from India?
I don't think so. Yeah, but uh, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while, and I think Fat Kauli has his answer in his second sentence. Um, yeah, we know we miss all of like each other, and yeah, we just go so we can just go make tea somewhere for our moms, spend time with our families. That's all we can do right now.
Yeah. I see that Shari is saying borders are sealed for now.
Yeah,
So also between Nepal and India, you can't go like even by land.
even if you manage to get to India, yeah, it's gonna be a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't know. After I heard this news of a first death
Mhm.
of COVID in Nepal yesterday, which is like super sad because the girl who died was like younger than me. And yeah, then I got quite worried that things are not gonna be solved very soon. No.
Yeah, so yeah, let's get back to music and like things that we can talk about, and apart from sulking about this corona thing,
Yeah,
uh,
good plan.
we all have our like uh concerns about this thing. But yeah, so we have a question. So actually that is that is what I intended to talk to you about as well. So what is your creative process in like writing songs or music, or is there a process
Yeah, yeah, there is. Um, it's it's not a fixed process for sure, but in these years I can see that also it goes in waves and there are some patterns. So I've started to write songs quite late, I feel, like not before I was 24 or something, because I started my career in music, or like my journey in music, by studying vocals. I first, when I was a teenager, I was studying opera singing. That's how I learned my vocal technique. And then when I was 19, 20, I started to study jazz. So that's what I did for a few years, a good 5 years probably. I was only studying jazz because it's such an enormous amount of of material and history and literature that's just like sucked me in for 5 years. And that's a big part of my creative process, I feel, because the approach of jazz musicians being like the study of the harmony and melody and the scales, like the theory material that I studied comes back in my writing a lot, but also the improvising approach that jazz musicians developed in the 20th century is also something that influenced my way of writing a lot. Like, for instance, I usually, like, the way I start a sketch of a song is usually just by improvising something. Like, maybe if I'm playing the guitar or the piano and I have like a chord progression, then I'll be just like singing some melody, like, or like just singing with like some fake phonetic words, for fake sounds. And that's usually how it comes. And I record with my phone or like with my audio recorder. I record all the ideas that come to my head, and then I go listen to them again, and maybe there is a hook or something or a melody line, even if it's not a catchy one, but that catches my attention. And usually I work around that. So I work around a melodic idea on chords, or sometimes I just record a melody. If I'm just like walking around or something and I have a melody in my head, I'll record it with my phone, come back, see if I like it again, find some chords for it, which is not, it's not essential. I often thought that the chords were everything, but it depends what kind of composer you are. Like, if you are a composer that is deeply focused on harmony, then yes, definitely your research on harmony and chords is the core of your writing. But if you're a songwriter that writes melody and lyrics, then the chords will come. And usually, like, the simple ideas, harmonic ideas are the best in my case. And yeah, then after I find like a melody that I like, I try and see if I have some idea for lyrics, like what does it talk about? And it usually works if it talks about something. It doesn't work if I'm like, oh, I have to find some words that fit, because then it's just gonna be sterile, it's just not gonna be telling anything after all, even if it's pretty words. But then again, that's my way of writing, while I see that other artists that I like are doing a poetic research. So what they're saying is probably meaningful for them, but what we hear, it's not like a storytelling, but more like a very poetic and beautiful use of words. For me, it's more like story driven. Like, I feel like, okay, it's gonna say something to me first, and then I'm gonna say it to the others. It makes sense. But yeah, it always works in different ways, and there is no right way to write, I'm sure. I've been listening to many artists that I like in this lockdown doing talks, and what I hear from all of them is like, we're all the same. Like, we're all saying like, oh, they ask me how I write, but just write, I don't know. Or they say that usually when you start writing, there's a voice in your head that tells you it sucks, it sucks, it sucks. And it's true. Like, everybody, feels like it sucks, it sucks. Or sometimes you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, I'm a genius. Then the day after you listen to it and you're like, oh my God, this was really shitty. And what sucked, maybe you picked it up after 2 years and you're like, that was great. Why did I think it sucked? I could have written this song 2 years ago. And this is what's happening to me a bit in this lockdown, like picking up old recordings and being like, why didn't I finish this? This was actually good. So I think, after all, the key is everything is good. You know, everything could be good. Every idea could be a good idea if
Mhm.
you just work around the idea and pursue the story, whatever story might be. You know, if there is no story, it's just a sound story, good. But just like, you know, believe, I would say like the key is to believe in the first idea you've had and just be consistent, like be true to the idea. I don't
Mhm.
know, motivational speech for you all.
That means like we're gonna get an album from Marta once this lockdown is lifted up from
Yeah,
all discarded gems.
yeah, I mean, I don't like to announce anything because it's like not, it's a very long path. And like my first album got released in 2016, and ever since 2017 I've been writing a new one, but then things happened in between. And I worked on a different project too, so lots of my repertoire went to that project, the Fossick Project,
Mhm.
and also a collaboration called Toy Song that came out in December, and some other things. So I've been working on other things, but like in this 4 years of time, this album of mine has been on my mind, and I feel like finally I got all the demos together. So I think it's coming. I think it's coming.
So
Yeah.
just in case like people haven't followed her on SoundCloud, she's got some amazing content there. I posted the link to her SoundCloud channel.
Thank
And
you.
please show some support, and also to her Facebook page. Uh, so I posted both the links in the
Thank you,
chat
Robbie.
here. So yeah.
Yeah. For some reason I didn't manage to cross post this on my Facebook page, but you find my Facebook page, you find my Instagram if you want to hear some of my covers. That's where I post them most of the time. Some of them I post them on Facebook too. SoundCloud is not super up to date, but there are some things there. And then you find my music everywhere digitally. I know not many people use Spotify in Nepal, but also on Deezer or on Bandcamp.
Mm.
Bandcamp is a great platform to listen to music and buy music if you wish.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you have online banking, of course. But even if you don't have online banking, you can just listen to these songs on Bandcamp, and you can find my music on Bandcamp if you search for Marta Del Grandi or Fossick Project. We have this EP called Sofa Days, which is an EP of like small jingles that we made for the Pangolin series that you can find on our YouTube channel, Fossick Project. I'm just gonna spell Fossick Project.
I've also
Yay.
posted the link to your Instagram channel too, Instagram handle too, on the chat window. Martha Rosa Music. That's what she's on Instagram as. So yeah.
Thank you, Robin.
While you mentioned Fossick Project, so it's a very interesting project, I know. But like, would you like to tell people more about it? It's about this collaborative and like very unique
Sure.
project for Nepal.
Sure, yeah. Yes, Fossick Project is a duo. It's a collaboration with my good friend Cecilia. She's Italian, but we met in Belgium, and she's an illustrator. That's what she does. She actually makes comics and graphic novels. And me and her, we were good friends from the first moment we met. And after some years, in the occasion of the publishing of her book, she was doing a book presentation, and we did a performance together. I was singing my songs and she was doing live drawings on the overhead projector. This way, like, we rediscovered this old tool, the overhead projector, that has been later on replaced by the digital projector and a PowerPoint. That's what the overhead projector was used originally for, just like putting presentation papers on that would be projected, and then was replaced, yeah, by technology. But it's still like a great analog projector, and Cecilia got very fond of it because she's fond of the analog approach to illustration. So on the overhead she could actually make
Yeah.
props and movements manually. So that's what we liked, and we decided to develop this idea of playing together and focus on storytelling. So, I can just share my screen now that I've been preparing, huh?
Okay.
So that I can show you something of the project. This is, yeah, this
Yeah, I can see.
big Fossick Project. This is Fossick Project at Patandoka last year. So you can see a little bit of our setup here. So there's me with my laptop, because I usually produce on Ableton Live, and so I play electronic music and I sing, and I have also keys that I play, and I compose music for this story together with Cecilia while she composes the graphic parts. Like you can see here in this picture, one of the frames, there is the Jaisalmer fort in Rajasthan. There's a camel and a bird. This bird is called the Great Indian Bustard. It's an endangered species of Rajasthan that we researched about last year. Whereas, yeah, you can see like this, for instance. My connection is whatever. This, for instance, this was this winter, and you can see how Cecilia works with sand also. So with sand, she can give a different effect rather than those props that she crops, like you saw. This is the end of like the last frame of one of our shows, in which the Great Indian Bustard and the pangolin that we already mentioned. We work on endangered animal species. Those are the inspirations for our works, our stories. And we write stories that are inspired by these animals and are usually talking about the relation between humans and the natural and animal world. In this show, the animals are tired of having to cope with human shit on the planet, so they decide to move to the moon. So this is like the animals' moon landing. And you can see like we kind of had a good fun there. This is a close-up on Cecilia and the way she actually does this animation. This is a workshop. Sometimes we do workshops. We go to schools and we play Fossick with the kids. So we learn we make a song, and we make some, you see they made an elephant and they made some animals.
Is this in
Yeah.
Kathmandu, the one from the school?
This was at the Lincoln School in Kathmandu, but we've done also other workshops in Nepal. Like we did Echoes in the Valley, which was an open workshop for any kids of any age and any school. Or we did also at the Children Art Museum, the CAM in Kathmandu. We did also a workshop with older kids. And then we did also in other places like in India and in Europe. Now we are planning some, because it's always really fun. We did it also in Thailand. We did also this summer, we did a workshop in Thailand, also with adults. It is really fun.
Cool.
Yeah, this is from Yalamaya Kendra. Okay, yeah, that's it for the pictures I can show you. But yeah, so this is a project that has been ongoing for 3 years, and we worked in Nepal on pangolin, because pangolin is a species of Nepal, and we worked in India on Great Indian Bustard, and now we're working on something new. I can't give you that much information because, to be honest, we haven't been able to write that much because we could not meet. But since like 2 weeks from now, I hopefully will be able to meet Cecilia. It's something that definitely we'll talk about the pandemic somehow, because what's more
From the earlier
of a fuck up, of a human fuck up than this.
from the earlier one you met about pangolins. You meant sofa days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mini EP, so it's like 3 jingles. It's like intended to be like sort of commercials, so you know, as a shape. So they're like 1 minute long. It's perfect for Instagram, and they're very like, you know, a verse and a catchy chorus. So that's why I call them jingles, but they're actually songs that could be extended. And they were made for animation videos that Cecilia made with After Effects. She's not an animator, but she drew manually the frames and then animated them with After Effects. You can check them on our YouTube channel if you search for Fossick Project. On Facebook too, like you linked, thank you. Or on the YouTube channel, you find like Stay Home with Long Tongue the Pangolin. There are 3 videos with 3 songs. And the 3 songs, I put them together in an EP called Sofa Days that you just linked. Yeah. Robik, you're mute.
Yeah. A link to Sofa Days,
Yeah.
the Bandcamp link. People can check out the music there. And I really loved the illustration there of the penguin sitting on sofa like we do. So
It's so
cool.
cool. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Cecilia is awesome. I think we're coming back to Nepal soon, like soon, as soon as possible. But hopefully, like if, you know, it's been quite disastrous that 2020 Visit Nepal and all the initiatives, cultural initiatives that had to come with it were cancelled. But I really hope that Photo Kathmandu and Kathmandu Triennale would be able to take place. I don't know. Is there any update on that?
Not yet. I think the latest big festival to be cancelled was Echoes in the Valley.
Yeah.
That's
We work together with Ecos. Rizu is a good friend, and I was also bringing some Italian artists, and yeah.
so sad. I've not heard it from either Photo Kathmandu or Kathmandu Trinale. It sounds it is
No
very
updates yet. Yeah, Dinesh is saying. Yeah, let's really hope that can take place, because it would be such an important moment, you know, for the city to have Trinale and Photo Kathmandu at the same time. It would be such a special time. I really hope I'll be there.
Yeah, hopefully. So yeah, Helena says, "I miss you, Marta."
Hi, Elena.
I think she's on Facebook.
Hi, Elena. I miss you too. How is it going? Yeah, we talk sometimes. And yeah, I know that not much is going on. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure everyone is creating a lot. And I look forward to seeing all the creations, the Kalo creations.
Yeah, there is another question from Challenger, who is Rubita, by the way.
Rubita.
Yeah.
Hi, Ruby. Right, that's true. That's also her Instagram name.
So she asked, any plans going somewhere far from Kathmandu for so far? Maybe after COVID-19 is over.
Ruby. We at one point we had some requests from some guys that were fans of SoFar in for sure in Pokhara, but also somewhere else. I know where, but I don't remember where. Well, in another city. I mean, for sure in Pokhara, and once in Viratnagar, they asked me, or they asked some of the team if we could go there.
Mm-hmm.
And in Butwal, yeah, I got it, and in Butwal. So there are people over there that would be able to, would be willing to help and facilitate logistically a SoFar Sounds school trip. But I don't know. As a matter of fact, yeah, maybe in 2021 or maybe 22. I don't know. Yeah. Mobility is a problem. That's another thing that we didn't talk about when we talked about the future of musicians. Like, mobility is the key for being a musician, because touring is very important, unless you are the Coldplay and you can say, I'm not gonna tour anymore. Yeah, of course, because you don't need to. But it's like, people that need to make a living out of shows need to move around. So yeah, same goes for SoFar. I mean, yeah, it's also a little bit like it's an open situation for SoFar, because I won't be back anytime soon. And I also feel like it's a good time for a transition of, sorry, forgive this horrible term, but like leadership, or like, management, like, head of management, from me to somebody else, somebody who's based in Kathmandu from now on is going to be based in Kathmandu, which I don't know if I will be based in Kathmandu, when, and how. It really depends on how this pandemic evolves. And so I feel like it's a good time for a takeover from someone. And there's a great team. So I really feel like also ideas for new ideas for SoFar is a good time to share them. So thank you, Ruby. Yeah, we can talk about it.
So yeah, both SoFarSoundsKathmandu and the Fossick Project have received very good press
Mm-hmm.
in all, especially Kathmandu-based media outlets. So I was just going through one of these articles by Kathmandu Post, and it said, I'm sure you've read it. This duo uses haunting music and playful projections to talk about endangered animals, and like I'm just gonna paste the link to the article as well. So yeah,
Thank
uh,
you.
if people want to have a look at it. So yeah, so you played internationally in venues like all over Europe and like Nepal. So how do you find like the indie music scene different in Nepal and like outside Nepal, let's say?
Mm.
Or is there anything such as indie music that
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, in Nepal, the problem is that there is no industry. So the scene can't exist if the industry is not there. And this is a problem that I've seen in my home country as well. And this is why I studied in Belgium rather than in Italy, because I felt like there is no industry for alternative music. That means like for mainstream music, there will always be an industry, because mainstream music is connected to the possibility of making money, like corporate money. I don't know. In Nepal, I wouldn't even be able to name the mainstream music scene, because I don't know it. I don't follow it and I don't know it. But maybe you guys can name some names that will always be supported by the industry, because they just make a lot of money to other industries. But when we talk about indie music, then we're talking about a scene that needs an industry that supports the music itself, and this is like what, for instance, is missing in Italy. But it got like much further in the past 10 years. So now we have a good network of showcase festivals, artists that are doing something alternative, and press agents or managers and bookers. I still feel like we're not quite there yet in Italy, comparing to, I'm comparing to the places where there is this industry. So like the US, Canada, the UK, Scandinavia a bit, Iceland, awesome industry, and that's it. Australia, Australia, New Zealand, like, and that's it. The Anglo-Saxon world, basically, and everywhere else is just a bit less. But still, like, France has a pretty good industry. Belgium and the Netherlands have a very small but good industry. Italy, we are getting there, like with Spain and all. When I think of the indie scene in Nepal, it's like when we got to start SoFar Sounds, that was probably one of the first internationally connected platforms in Nepal for indie musicians. there were some platforms, like there was, for instance, Yumari Sessions. It was already existing, but you know, that's a great project, but it's not a project that it's internationally connected, which for an indie musician is like, it's so important. I'm even like, I was surprised that there was no connection, like no organic and easily found connection between Nepal and India. So like now Fatkali is back. Yeah, like Fatkali, for instance, recently went to play a festival in India, and he also released his record on an India-based label. Another artist that did that recently is Yansan P. Prasida, an electronic music producer. So those are two examples of artists who are connected somehow to the Indian scene, which is like, it's more, you know, it's getting there a bit more quickly, because I mean,
should have been the natural thing to be, right? The very organic thing, because it's very
yeah, that's what interested me the most after I started Sofar Sound, to connect with India, because I got to know all these people that worked for Sofar in India that are good friends. Some of them became great friends of mine because they're very special people that have the same vision and the same intent that I had, and my friends that worked with me in Kathmandu had. So that's a very important thing for the indie music scene in Nepal, to be connected with India. And you know, it's not like, oh, Nepal has to be connected with India because it's small and can't work on itself. No, that's not the point, because for instance, this connection benefits Indian musicians very much too. And we know it because with Sofar Sounds, and We All Should Play, that is the kind of sister agency that we started together with my husband to support Sofar Sounds in terms of, you know, being officially like invoiced sometimes and stuff like that. Then we saw like how many Indian musicians want to come and play in Nepal, because for them too, this is international touring. It's an experience that is very important for your profession. And yeah, in terms of discography, since I think I can say that there are no record labels in Nepal, but contradict me if I'm wrong or if you have a different opinion, but indie record label that have a distribution, that have like PR and networking possibilities, I don't think there are any in Nepal, whereas in India there are some, and it's maybe easier for a Nepal-based artist to reach out to a label in India rather than in New York or LA. It's I'm not saying it's not possible. It's possible to also connect with a label in LA or in London, but maybe it's more direct to be like, okay, I'm gonna play a show in Mumbai and I'm gonna hit up the label in Mumbai to come and check me out. That's what I mean, you know, it's just like logistically easier. And then it's very important for indie musicians to look at the possibilities they have for discography, because you need to release music in a proper way, because you need to protect yourself, you know, to protect your copyright, your right of earning money from that music, which is very important. And I think many musicians don't know about it, forget about it, or don't know about it. You release something and you need to have it written down and be sure that that money, that copyright is yours. And if you decide to give your money, your copyright, to a label, good, but you need to sign a contract. It's not just like, I put it online, it's released, you know, which is like, it's okay, but you need to make sure that you have copyright protection on that. You can also self-release it, but you need to have the copyright protected. So these are all, you know, it's a very, very wide topic. And even me, after a long time, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to get money from my playwrights, how to get money for my singing rights, you know. And I'm not a manager, so I'm usually like talking to managers, talking to a friend who's helping me with my management, or talking to other artists that have a better management insight, to know that this is, I think, we are still like moving the first steps in Nepal towards an industry that supports indie musicians in their profession.
Yeah. So for our friends on Zoom and Facebook, if you have any questions or anything you want to ask Martha, so please drop in your questions or any comments too. Yeah.
Because
Why?
meanwhile, I'm just gonna finish this thing and just say another thing. Because sometimes we feel like you are a successful indie musician if you have an audience. True, it's the most important thing. If nobody is listening to you, you're probably not going to make a profession out of it, because yeah, that's the essence. But it's not the only thing. Yeah, you can have an audience, but not touring. If you don't have the chance to tour and expand your audience beyond like the reach of your YouTube channel, that's a problem. That's something that we should work on. Not only having an audience, it can be the only goal, or like really earning money out of it. And you know how monetizing on YouTube works, and it's not something that you can count on. It's not like, oh, my money comes from YouTube and that's all I need. I don't need anything else, because I don't know. I mean, I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't know actually how much you make, but I guess you guys know better than me. That is not so fully reliable.
Yeah, very dodgy. So, anyways, when you're talking about money, so how does So Far Sounds manage its finances, like for all the artist fees for the artists, the international artists to be flown in
Yeah,
foreign countries, and for the venues and everything? How does it manage its finances?
yeah, that's a very problematic aspect, and that's the reason why sometimes we haven't put up a show, or we have been silenced for a while, because we are a volunteer city within the So Far Sounds global organization. Like most of the cities, that means that we don't have funds from the company. The company is just like letting us run independently this chapter and volunteeringly. So like I'm a volunteer, the sound guy is a volunteer, the video guy is a volunteer, the girl at the entrance is a volunteer. I'm sorry, I just said the girl because I know that we usually have Eddie there. So hi Eddie. Thanks for being at the doors for 2 years and collect money from people and ask them to give money. That was like, she was so awesome to do this. And yeah, that's how we've been financing everything, with the donations. And that's how sometimes we've been like actively requesting for donations. So it's not just like, give what you want, but it's like, we would need 300 rupees per person to support this thing. Would you like to give it to us? And sometimes some people that work for some UN or something would give us more. That's also like a way to support the fact that other people are like, I wish I could give 300, but I can't, which is totally fine. Especially if you're like a student and your parents are giving you the money. Like, of course, it's much more difficult to give more. But that's how we've been supporting everything. And usually the artists that come from abroad get to So Far Sounds because they reach out via email. And then I get to talk to them about the possibility of playing more shows in Kathmandu. And I help them to set up, I don't know, a show at Base Camp, Beers and Cheers, something in Tamil, the Hub, or House of Music, or Electric Pagoda, and I reach out to the venues, because in these years I got to know all the people, the managers of the venues, and be like, oh, there's a band from Italy, there's a girl from Singapore, there's a duo from India coming, would you guys like to book them? So we can put together a budget that allow them to come on a plane. Yeah, but money is shit. Yeah, money is a problem. It's a problem also because we didn't want to be like, yay, Tuborg, and a big Tuborg banner behind our artists, because we were like, oh, that's exactly what So Far doesn't want to be like. We want to be like all cute and pretty to watch and intimate to be there. So, you know, you just don't want to booze till you die while the gig is going on, because that's not the point, you know.
So yeah, talking about that, what do you think? You've already talked in bits about it, but what do you think is the essence of So Far Sounds? And like essence as in how does it set itself apart from other musical gigs,
Yeah.
or an additional question to that might be, how is So Far Sounds Kathmandu different from other cities, other chapters?
Um, I mean, every chapter is similar and different because, of course, it depends on the context you're in. So Kathmandu is different because we know, for instance, that we need to take in account the traffic. Okay, so it's like, okay, we can't have a show at 6 p.m. on Friday because nobody's gonna get there. Nobody's gonna get there in time. So, and also, you know, when we started, we were like, okay, we need to be very careful, because what if we're doing something in a place that we like, but it's not easy to evacuate if there's an earthquake. You know, these are all, it's not nice to talk about these things, but these are all things to take in account that are specific to any different place. In Milan, for instance, you're like, you can't make advertisement online because otherwise the copyright agency, the CI, will come and they will ask us to pay 200 or 300 euros of tax for this event. Like, this is all, we don't have that in Nepal. And this goes to also as an answer to Ruby. Ruby is asking, how different is the scenario of making money through music in Nepal from other countries? Paying for copyrights is one of the differences. So when you play an official show, like in a theater or at a festival somewhere in Europe, you fill out a spreadsheet that says what you played, where your music is registered, and what's your domicile. I don't know, like your details. And at the end of the year, you get paid something for that, because if the music was yours, you're going to get paid for your copyright. So if you play a lot of shows in theaters, that's a good part of your income. And then you need to make sure that all your money is registered right and everything. That's one way. And then another way is,
So is it
like,
are all the records centralized so that like so in order to like make money out of it? Like, it's a very interesting thing.
yeah, it's interesting. And to be honest, like, I still sometimes have some doubts, but one thing is copyright and one thing is royalties. So every record nowadays in the digital world has a code. Every musical content that is officially registered and distributed officially as a code. So everywhere, like for instance, if you go on YouTube and you scroll down, you say like, you see usually it's written licensed to and distributed by. And I didn't write it out myself. You know, if I put a content on it that is mine, my distributor will recognize it and they'll be like, oh, it's licensed to Marta and it's distributed by us. Something like that. Oh no, licensed to YouTube, obviously. Licensed to YouTube, distributed by whatever label. And that money goes to the label. And then the label gives me my share. But the copyright, I am the author in the case of my songs. I'm 100% the writer of that. So even if I signed with the distributor for the digital release, the copyright is still mine and it goes to me from another agency. So you need, like, there for the copyright, I need to register the songs myself. But then the distributor links them to that. It's interesting. It's very important. Yeah, it's very important. And as far as I know, there is no such thing in Nepal as a copyright payments for music. But it's probably possible to register them somewhere else. I'm not an expert, so really, if you guys have some more to say about it, or feel free to contradict me or support my thesis. I don't know. Sorry, Robik, I got like a little distracted. How is So Far Sounds different from other music organizations? I think the key is community, because this is what makes it different. What makes it different, because for instance, I want to go and tour somewhere in Africa. imagine. And Marta, but also, I don't know, Eddie or Fetkauli. And they could be like, hey, Marta, just because now I'm the city leader, or tomorrow somebody else, I want to go tour in Africa. Can you connect me with So Far Sounds Africa? And I'll be like, oh shit, I have no idea. But I'll be like, hey, Pratna, who's our coordinator for South Asia, can you please connect Eddie or Fetkauli to the coordinator of Africa, because they're going to tour in Africa. And then Pratna, who lives in Bangalore, should be like, yeah, sure, give me their email. And in like a week time, they'll be connected to the So Far Sounds in Africa. That are probably like 30 cities or something. So they have potentially the possibilities of playing in all around Africa. And then, you know, just like I do in Nepal, maybe the city leaders of Cape Town, South Africa, can tell them, yeah, you can play a So Far show and I cannot pay you for that, or like I can pay you $30, but I know a couple of venues where you might be able to play, and they pay you a real fee. So that can help a lot. And now they're doing this, So Far Sound is doing this listening room. I play a show for them because my friend Pratana in Bangalore reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to play, because she knew I was in Milan, and they were like, oh, we really want to feature somebody from Italy, and I think you would be perfect for this. So I did it there, and So Far Sounds, there was like a concert fee, which is also great, because we've been doing a lot of these streaming concerts from our homes just out of the need of playing, which everybody feels. But also at some point among musicians, we started to talk about the fact that great, but we've been just like giving so much of this valuable content for free. So some of the musicians I know have been like, oh, I don't want to play streaming concerts for free anymore. I don't know. I mean, I would probably still do it if some friends ask me, or if it's a cause that I want to support. But I feel that it's great that So Far proposed, okay, you play a concert and we can pay you this, and also we can open donations that go straight to you. Because it's good to donate to the hospitals, but it's also true that we are not protected as a category, musicians. We don't have a fund, like a retirement fund, or if there is a government fund to help self-employed people, it's usually not applicable to musicians. So it's good that we also recognize the value of our work and we get paid.
So yeah, when it's also the community worldwide and the community like as So Far Sounds Kathmandu team, right? I mean, like, that it is.
Also.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I agree with you.
So yeah, also one thing when you're talking about like indie or like alternative musicians, after this like post-corona, or like let's say after this lockdown is over, are the indie musicians or this alternative music is going to be more hit than like hard hit than the like mainstream music or commercial music? What do you think?
Of course, they've always gonna be fine. I mean, I don't want to sound like this person that hates the mainstream, but it's just another thing, you know. I mean, that's an industry like the plastic industry or advertising industry. You know, it's a product, and they have channels to maintain their work. I'm sure they're gonna be hit too, especially like people that were playing huge shows. Like I'm thinking an artist like Pipul Chetri, who's an artist I like, you know, and I think that he does it in a very honest way. He's being a mainstream star, but I don't think Beeple is gonna tour in 2020. So all his income coming from live shows, it's gone. But, you know, Beeple does, I don't know, the commercial for Ansel and the commercial for whatever, and the commercial in television and this and that. So he has a secure income. It's not gonna, probably is not gonna be as profitable like his industry, his own company because, you know, he has a manager, he has a booker, he has an agent, he has sound engineers, he has the light technicians. You know, let's not forget about these people. What about the light technician of people? This year, he's probably going to make zero out of his normal job, and he's going to be in a position of being like, yeah, how am I going to make my money? So I don't know what kind of contracts they have, but like, if you work for, let's say, Bruce Springsteen, okay? You are the light technician of Bruce, and in 2020, you guys are not going to do any show. I'm pretty sure that the Bruce Springsteen Inc., it's gonna pay you a salary anyways if you are an employee of Bruce. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna impact the mainstream too. But you know what I mean? They're gonna have the possibility to keep some of their income from royalties, from syncing, from advertising, from selling their music to the cinema, television, and so on. Whereas for indie musicians, it's much harder because it's not so immediate. Thanks to like Spotify and Netflix, I see like many like indie bands and indie artists are getting on there. So I see like, you know, Sex Education, for instance, the TV series has a music selection that is quite, you know, niche. And it's like music that I've known, but it's not like mainstream music. So that is helping indie musicians. Mm-hmm. But for the rest, yeah, we need to be very careful what we do. But there are ways. Also, there are now many more places to play live shows and streaming and get money. Like, for instance, Twitch. Mm-hmm. Twitch is a platform, or Patreon. These are platforms where you can like offer something and ask for some money. Mm-hmm. I know I end up talking about money, but it's a very important aspect of being a musician, because otherwise you end up just doing it for years without taking care of these aspects. And at a certain point, you're just gonna be, you know, it's just gonna hit you in the face, and you're gonna have to realize that you need to make a living out of it, or you need to have another job, which is not what is not what you wanted to. So. But you know, I'm talking forever, and I think you guys are probably done with me. So do you have any other questions?
Of last few of them before, like I'm gonna read a comment and a link by Rishidai. His link on Facebook. He says, and he gives an international online course for people interested in music. It's free. If you don't, it's free if you don't need a certification. Yeah, he's posted a link there. So yeah. One more thing I would like to talk about is this, like, was it last year or 2019? It was, right? 19 or 18. The big thing that happened with SoFar Sounds in Kathmandu is the Damien Rice concert that you had. Like, it was a big thing. So yeah. How was that?
Yeah, we actually decided to do it without SoFar Sounds. Like, we did it as We All Should Play, and we organized it ourselves. What happened is like funny.
SoFar Sounds label, right?
Hmm?
It was not officially under the SoFar Sounds.
Yeah, no, because we decided to do it like a little bit more structured, and we had these two venues, and we had the show ticketed, because it would have been crazy to just have a guest list. And you know, it was such a unique possibility to do a show of such a big artist that is also very famous in Nepal, that we just like, we decided to do it differently. It was quite crazy because I didn't know Damien, but he found me on Instagram just randomly. Then he followed me for a while, and then he asked me like, hey, I would like to come to India and Nepal. How can I come? I was like, whoa, wow, hello. I've been listening to you for 15 years. Welcome. I've been your super fan when I was in high school. So we started to talk, and I convinced him somehow, because like I managed to like make him believe that this was doable in like just the amount of time he had to come to India. He did like a SoFar show in Mumbai, a SoFar show in Delhi for him, and we played the song together. And then we came to Kathmandu, and we played the two shows and the two shows I did 2 supports for him, and yeah, that was great.
Yeah, yeah. So we are almost like at the end of this talk. We've talked a lot about everything, like,
Thanks a
and
lot for having me.
yeah, it was interesting to talk to you. If any like of our attendees, the audiences have any final questions, please shoot them up on Zoom or Facebook. Uh,
Sure, you
yeah,
can hit me up anytime, anyways, on Facebook, Instagram, or by email.
Mhm.
My email, I can maybe post it somewhere. I can post it here in case you guys want to tell me
I posted you on
anything.
Facebook and all the channels.
Yeah.
So there you go. Uh, yeah, it was interesting to talk to you. I don't see
Thank
any
you, Robik.
there. It was like any final bit of advice that you'd like to give to like the aspiring musicians or someone who wants to get into alternative music scene, who don't like the commercial like bits and commercial music, let's say, and would like to
Yeah,
alternative music with.
just do your thing, man. All of you. That's my advice. Do your thing, believe in it, take it very seriously, because it's a very hard industry to be in and to be building something in. But I really believe everything is a worthy idea. So believe in it.
Yeah, especially after this pandemic thing, it's gonna be even.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
and also now we're saying this, maybe in a month time we would be doing a different, we would be saying different things, and in September we would be saying different things. So I'm always open for continuing this debate also privately if you guys want to talk about something, and I look forward to being back in Nepal probably somewhere in the end of the year, and I wish everyone to stay safe
thank you
and to
so much.
stay in touch with each other. Thank you so much, Robik, for having me, and Sattya, all of
One
you.
Yeah, one last thing that we have on Zoom. So after we go off from Facebook Live, so we're just gonna have this after party. We call it after party thing. So we're gonna unmute everybody and like we'll have a like
Cool.
yeah, talk. So we are signing off for today from Facebook Live. For those who are listening on Facebook, if you want to get some fun moments and like ask some questions individually, or yeah, get some more crazy poses from Martha, please join in our Zoom sessions. And yeah, and for those on Zoom, stay a little while more for the after party. I'm gonna take that screenshot. Anyway,
Okay, bye guys.
bye
I'll see you in
people.
the after party.
Yeah, stay here for a while. Bye bye. See
Bye
you
bye.
on the next session. Bye.